great pleasure to be back in Paris. So today we're going to be talking with, of course, Stéphane Richard, the CEO of Orange, about their initiative, which I don't know whether we call it fintech or tech fin or mobile fin, but we will get to that. But this is part of a global trend we're seeing emerging, which is mobile payments are starting to heat up as a modality, and we're shifting more and more of our financial experiences to the technology layer. Now, of course, on a global basis, we see in China and Africa right now incredible growth in mobile payments. M-Pesa, MTN in Africa. China, of course, 5.5 trillion in mobile payments last year, which incidentally is about 90% of the global mobile payments volume on a transaction basis. So I guess I'll start with the first question, Stéphane, is why is it that China and Africa appear to be ahead of us right now in terms of Europe and the US in respect to mobile activity when it comes to financial services?
Well, it is clear that Europe, and to some extent the US also, are lagging behind those two continents in the world. China, it's very spectacular. You mentioned the figures. If you imagine that 700 million Chinese are making mobile payments every day, as you know, divided into, and it's very interesting to see this, into two systems, WeChat and Alipay, which is the mobile payment service from Alibaba, meaning that, by the way, the banks, the operators, are totally out of this game. In Africa, you mentioned it also, if I take our situation at Orange, we have 35 million users every day of our mobile banking service, and the total amount of transactions that were hosted in our systems last year was 27 billion euros, which is more than Banque Postale or Société Générale in France in a year. So we see massive use of mobile payments in those parts of the world. Why does Europe lag behind this move? In my view, because in fact in Europe we have still a very conservative system of payments based on a credit card. Credit card is very, as you know, active and very powerful in our countries, based on cash also. But we see now a move. For instance, last year we had, I think, 600 million transactions based on mobile payment in France. It's 158% more than the previous year. So we see this move now starting. And in my view, what we are going to, a few of us, what we have launched as a mobile bank or linked or connected with a mobile payment service based on Apple or Android telephones is going to help, of course, towards the cashless economy. There are some countries in Europe, by the way, that have decided to set as a global goal for the country the cashless economy. For instance, Nordic Poland. Regions. We are an operator in Poland. Poland is part of a national target to become a cashless economy within 10 years. You have the Nordic states, as you know, Denmark is very advanced in that direction. It will probably take longer in southern countries, but I'm pretty sure that we are going to that direction.
Yeah, Italy might take a little longer.
Italy, Spain. Spain is still a very cash-driven economy.
So getting back to the mobile business, there was a lot of talk about mobile network operators prior to Apple Pay and Google Wallet or Android Pay and Samsung Pay emerging. There's a lot of talk about mobile operators being potential threats to banks, and of course we had a very famous misstep in that respect in the US with the launch of ISIS. A very clever branding opportunity there, but didn't quite work out for them. But what do you say as the benefits being a mobile network operator in terms of attacking the financial services space?
Basically, it is a choice It is a bet that you can do or not. And by the way, to some extent, Orange is a pioneer into that direction. I think we are the first operator to really launch a full bank, mobile bank, in a developed country, in France. Even though, as mentioned, we are very strong in mobile banking in Africa. So the real question is why did we decide to go to that direction? Yes. It's considering that we have a very good knowledge of the mobile uses of people, because we put phones in the hands of 265 million people. Second, we have a very strong relationship, including a technical relationship, with device manufacturers and operating systems manufacturers, basically Apple with iOS and Android. And it is very important, if you take the mobile payment facility, you see that Orange Bank, our bank, is natively linked with the two services, Apple Pay and of course, the Android service, which is a big asset, because in France you have more than 30% of our customer bases with using Apple iOS. So it's difficult to launch a service with a mobile payment facility if you are not connected with Apple. And it took us a few weeks, in fact, to negotiate with Apple the link with Apple Pay. And I know that for other players, and especially the banks, it is much more difficult. And then, on top of that, they may think that it is not good for them. It is not our view. So you have the device manufacturer side. Then you have the brand. We have a very powerful brand, very popular brand. And what we have seen is that the brand is fostering an element of trust in the public, which is very important when it comes to financial business and your money, in fact. We have created a fully digital user experience with the bank, meaning that if you want to stay in your phone, you can have a 100% customer journey based on mobile, but you have also a physical point of contact through Orange shops, yeah, and through employees that have been trained, of course, to that regard. Meaning that what we try to provide is both digital and physical, to some extent, customer journey. And then you have all the area of the cross benefits that we can create from a marketing, let's say, point of view between the telco business and the bank. When I say the bank, I'm talking about really 80-90% of the services that you expect from your bank, at a very low cost and with a very simple, digital, interactive, easy to use customer experience.
So let's drill down onto that a little bit before I ask you about the performance of how you're going with the launch, because I'd like some details on that. But before that, when you look at a traditional bank, they often see mobile as a channel that has been added on to the existing bank. And so as a result, you see products that they used to deploy in branches being tried to retrofit for mobile. But given that you've started from the proposition as a mobile network operator, do you think you approach the design problem fundamentally differently from a bank?
I think so. I think so, because our approach has been really to start with the digital user interface. And what we have tried to do is really to create a fully digital experience, meaning that, once again, if you want to stay in a self-care mode, you can do 100% with your phone, from downloading the app till your daily life. And in fact, the physical aspect is really a kind of bonus that, of course, a startup or a fintech like a number of them cannot provide. And in fact, but basically what we want to offer is really a user experience which is totally comparable to what the best startups can offer you. in a fully digital user experience. And then, on top of that, we are Orange. We have 650 shops in the country. We are 90,000 people in the company in France, so we are not a startup. And this, in my view, in the banking business, is making quite a difference.
So 2 questions in the time we've got remaining. First of all, how is the launch going? What's the progress you've made in commercial terms?
We are happy about the launch. I had mentioned that after 10 days of activity, we had opened 30,000 accounts. We are over 50,000 at the end of 2017. I will provide new numbers when we will unveil our 2017 results.
Yes.
But if you compare this commercial performance with the previous, let's say, mobile bank launch that we had in the past 10 years, well, yes, it's quite good. I think that we will rank among the top 5 or the top 6 mobile banks within a year of activity, which is good.
Now, looking a bit further out, we're starting to see the emergence of artificial intelligence, particularly built into things like a voice-based smart assistants, and this is being embedded increasingly either in the home or in the handset. So, how do you think this will change the approach to provisioning of financial services on the technology layer?
Well, first, with Orange Bank, we provide a customer relationship which is based partially, but very largely, on artificial intelligence. We have a service which has been created in a partnership with IBM Watson, and it proves to be a good service with a very good return from our users and from our customers. So we are experiencing artificial intelligence-based customer relationship in our mobile bank. Then, of course, if we think in terms of the potential of this, it's one more element that really leads to question the legacy model of retail bank with agencies, with a lot of people in the ground. We see that, of course, a big part of this model is now really to be questioned. First, because people are going less and less in the contact points of banks everywhere, and then because artificial intelligence is coming and will obviously replace a large part of the simple, I would say, acts. It will not replace, of course, totally, fortunately, the human also expertise. We will need this, but it will be to a totally different extent than what we have known. I'm pretty sure of that.
So we talked about China.
And then, sorry, Brett.
Yes.
There is also, and you're right to mention it, the link with the smart assistant that we are going to see now in our homes. We know Amazon or Google. The operators are going to launch their own assistant. We, during the course of this year, we will launch Jingo, which is our smart assistant. It is a development that we are finalizing with Deutsche Telekom in a JV. So we are going to launch this at a European scale with a massive campaign. And of course, it is an area where smart assistant with vocal recognition, artificial intelligence, and the services that we will have around bank being one of those services is for us a key battle in the coming month.
So just a quick question. Ant Financial now has the largest deposit product in the world, Yueibao, a mobile money market fund in China. They look like they're going to become one of the leading financial institutions in China. Where do you think Orange will be in 10 years?
Sorry. Our target within 10 years is first to become maybe the leading player in mobile bank as a daily service, family designed, simple to use, providing the best of what digital technology can provide for, of course, the public. So our target is not to become...
Not the biggest bank, necessarily.
No, a big financial institution. Our core business and is clearly telco, but we think that we can take a significant part in the new retail bank business, which will be very different from what we have known in the past 20 years. We will see, but as you know, in terms of numbers, what we aim is recruiting 2 million customers within 10 years, which is significant, but still reasonable, I would say, as an ambition. And I think that we can do that.
Very good. Well, Stéphane Richard, thank you very much for joining us at the Paris Fintech Forum and telling us about your launch. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Please join me in thanking Stéphane.